A very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Today's Youth, where we bring you, of course, a member of the Egyptian youth population, and we talk with them about all their favorite activities as well as all, the events that they have been taking part on, as well as their take on the Egyptian youth. And today we're delighted to be joined in the studio by our guest, Mr. Muhammad Abdul Wahab Amer, who is a professional Arabic to English translator as well as interpreter, as well as a trainer of English language and lecturer. Mr. Muhammad, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Angie. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to talk to young people from the Egyptian television. One doesn't get the privilege to be here every day. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Muhammad. And let's start, at the very beginning, when you decided to study, translation, which is a very, very popular field, but a difficult field, really, to major in.
But it's amazing. I'm a graduate of Faculty of Arts 2010, and I got my master's degree in 2015, and now I'm finishing my PhD studies on the same specialty, so I really like this specialty. Working in translation made me learn a lot of cultures and languages and characteristics of different countries. It's very amazing to be a translator, and after that I worked as an interpreter. This indulged me into the work of conferencing and conference management, which is very amazing as well. So combining between translation and interpreting, I like it so much.
Interpreting is actually quite challenging because it's timely. You're listening and speaking at the same time.
You do not have time or the leisure of time to look for a word or an expression. You need to know a lot of information instantly.
In advance.
If you do not have this information, you're going to
struggle.
Yes, of course.
So tell me, as someone who studied the English language and such a very important skill as interpreting and translating, what stands out for you, in this profession?
I like this profession because it gives me the background of every single culture. I have interpreted and translated like 10 books from 2015 to 2020, and every single book I learned something new. And especially the last book that I translated in 2020 talks about the history of Vikings. I've watched the famous TV show, but reading a book, it's
totally different.
Much different.
So you've translated it from English to Arabic?
From English into Arabic in books, but you can translate from Arabic into English in different conferences and different documents. You can work vice versa.
Let me ask you, Muhammad, what is easier, to translate from Arabic to English or from English to Arabic?
As an Egyptian, it's much easier to translate into Arabic, but you need to be ready for the job market. The job market asks for or requires translated to English. You need to be ready.
Because the Arabic language is very rich, and there's lots of terminologies.
A lot of rules, grammar. The grammatical rules in Arabic is much more complex and sophisticated than English and any other languages.
Do you struggle with things like jargon? So, for example, if you are in an economic conference,
of course, because
and there's lots of different, business jargon.
A lot of young people ask me, can I be specialized in a single specialty? I tell them you can work in every single specialty, but you will. By the end, you will have your own preferences. For myself, I like politics, literature, I like criticism, I like sociology, working with the United Nations. But there are some specialties that I do not prefer, like technicalities, numbers, working with numbers. It's somehow difficult, but every single person has his own preferences, of course.
Right. So, Muhammad, let me ask you, you've taken part in the Presidential Leadership Program, a very, very important initiative by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, made specifically and designed for Egyptian youth. Could you tell me a bit about your experiences?
From the first day of his presidency, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi focused on empowering young people. And 2 years after that, and especially 2016, he called that year the Year of Young People. And then he launched what we call the Presidential Leadership Program, or the PLP. The program is a training program which focuses on graduating young people who are able to manage the administrative system of the country. After a few years, we have learned a lot of skills, a lot of strategies, and a lot of sciences in administration and politics and national security, a lot of sciences. And after that, the system itself indulges and injects young people in the administrative system so we can get benefit from the powers of those young people in administering the country.
So it's really an opportunity for the youth.
Of course.
And it helps you, you know, with finding employment afterwards, opening new avenues for jobs for the youth.
Of course, if you are skilled enough, if you are mastered enough in your skills, you can find your own spot. I find myself in managing conferences, in translation and interpreting, so I didn't get far from my own specialty, but I really developed my skills, so I'm really adapted to that program.
And Mr. Mohammed, you also met a lot of youth during the presidential leadership program.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about your experience meeting different Egyptian youth, you know, their ambitions, because Egyptian youth are very ambitious in this
I
program.
joined the program in 2016, so from my graduation to 2016, I only met translators, teachers, and English people. So after that, I met doctors, teachers, I met different people from different specialties that enriched my awareness of my surroundings. I met a lot of friends out there. I made a lot of friendships from different specialties. So I think this was one of the main benefits of the program. You make your own network of people, young people, your friends, your mates, your colleagues, and then you indulge yourself into different fields. So I didn't lift translation and interpreting, but I focused on politics, on sociology, on SDGs, on working with different organizations, on field work that was not there before 2016. So I think this was the most amazing thing about the program.
Absolutely, and just being in the field really changes your perception.
Yes, of course.
Your whole reality
this
shifts.
is one of the most critical points of my life, because I had different thoughts and small thoughts maybe before the program. But after going into the program, I felt like I need to know a lot of things about the state, about the country, about its people, about the sectors here in Egypt. I need to know a lot of information, and we learned a lot of information about the new projects, the mega projects, and not only information, I went to those projects and I saw
Where
them
did you go?
myself. The administrative capital, Road al-Farag access. It was only bricks and a lot of projects. So it was an amazing experience, believe me.
Indeed, quite an eye-opener. Right, Mr. Mohammed. And ladies and gentlemen, a short break and we'll be right back to continue with our guest this afternoon. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you and our guest joining us this afternoon on this edition of Today's Youth, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Wahab, Amer, our translator and interpreter. Thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. So just before the break, we were talking about your experience in the presidential leadership program and how it really changed, you know, your viewpoint and your reality as a whole. From there, we moved to the World Youth Forum, another amazing opportunity which you took part in. Could you tell us a bit about your experience? And you took part twice in the World Youth Forum.
4 times.
Oh wow, 4 times. All right. So tell me the first time you took part and how this came along, and then we'll discuss the other time.
If you are a graduate of the presidential leadership program, you are directly a member of the organizing committee of the WIF, because WIF, or the World Youth Forum, is one of the main ideas that get out of the presidential leadership program. So organizing the first one in Sharm el-Sheikh, it was a very good experience, because this was my first experience with managing and administering conferences. I was a member of the media committee because I like media so much, and it's very close to language, to English, to translation. So I went to this certain committee, and I didn't change my committees from the first experience to the fourth experience. So the first one, we focused on the critical subject of terrorism, and we had a very critical session, a mock session from the United Nations Security Council, focusing on counterfeiting terrorism. After that, we made a lot of experiences and mock experiences to indulge much more people and young people into these sessions. So starting from the first WIF to the fourth edition, we canceled only the 2020 because of the COVID-19 crisis, and we just finished it in January, the last January, and we are now ready for the for the fifth edition in the next coming January, inshallah, after the COP27.
So tell me, you said you were in the media committee. What were the responsibilities of the media committee, and especially because you were dealing with youth from all over the world, so you had to have coverage to suit that magnitude.
I was sure that with you like this so much. I was ready for, and I'm responsible for giving out media statements to media men and responsibles, and I'm writing a lot of media statements about every single session.
So press releases to the media.
Yes, of course, a lot of statements, and I also give words to different channels, and we had a lot of channels from Egypt, from
abroad.
From abroad. So I was writing statements, press releases, and also took to these channels.
So tell me, the youth that you've met from all around the world, what were their perceptions? How did they? Some of them, it was their first time to visit Egypt and at the beautiful Red Sea Resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. A very, very amazing opportunity for youth from all around the world. As for you, as a member of an organizing committee, how was your reception? How was their perception of Egypt?
Yes, it starts in the plane itself.
Yes, from the moment you land.
Yes, from Cairo to Sharm el-Sheikh, and I met a lot of young people in the plane itself, and they asked me, "Are you going there?" Yes, I'm a member of the organizing committee. So they asked me a lot of information about Egypt.
Like what, Mohammed? Could you tell me, what were their interests?
The main places they can visit. These young people didn't visit Egypt before, and we were above Sinai, and they asked me about the pyramids. Can we go there now? And I tell them, okay, you can go
Maybe
there.
a bit earlier.
You can go after the event, inshallah. So they asked me a lot of the main places in Egypt, how to deal with young people, how to deal with the Egyptian people, and how to consume Egyptian food. They asked a lot of questions about Egyptian food. So I told them about falafel, koshari. They can go to Hussein. They can, traditional food in Egypt.
So they were interested, for tourism as well as cultural experiences in Egypt. But there was also a political, side to the World Youth Forum. Lots of topics, as you said, security, terrorism, economic development, sustainable development. Lots of different topics were under discussion during the World Youth Forum. Tell me a bit about that, side.
Okay, this was the result of a lot of discussions before the World Youth Forum. The World Youth Forum is the international step of the national conferences here in Egypt. And in one of those conferences, we discovered the idea of the World Youth Forum. So we turned the ideas that are discussed in the national conferences into an international scale, focusing on sustainable development, fighting terrorism, financing and budgeting young people, how to solve major problems that challenges a lot of young people. These are the main brief cases and a lot of subjects we discussed in these conferences, and especially the last World Youth Forum, we focused on the next coming COP27, which will be held in November in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. This is a very, very promising opportunity to every single young people, and I really want to seize this opportunity to invite young people to focus on this particular event. This is our first time to host this wide-scale conference. You're going to benefit a lot from, if you're not invited to go there, if you didn't have the opportunity to go there, you can watch the conference on TV and learn about climate change and how the state is dealing with climate change. This was one of the most amazing profiles in the last World Youth Forum.
So Mohammed, you mentioned, of course, the COP27, which Egypt will be hosting in November in the Red Sea Resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. As a member of the youth population, tell me, how concerned are the youth with issues related to climate change? Is it, a priority at top of their agendas, or is it something they, just deal with on a day-to-day basis without actually considering the repercussions?
I noticed that it's not one of our priorities in our daily lives, but you have to consider that this affects and impacts directly your own life. It affects your health, it affects your money, it affects your family, it affects your jobs. Climate change affects your life directly. Egypt is not one of the countries that emits a lot of carbon, but we are one of the affected countries. We are badly affected by this. So hosting COP27 is an opportunity to discuss how affected are we. And after that, we're going to go to the COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. They are affected as well. So we are exchanging profiles, we're exchanging information and experiences hosted by young people. All of this huge work are done by young people. So I think the man in the street is going to learn about his own practices, the paper he consumes, the money he pays, the transportations he takes every single day. This affects your own health. And there is no anything that's more important than your health.
Absolutely.
So
and I can see, you know, there is this movement and more awareness by the Egyptian youth regarding their health. And, you know, we see lots of cyclists, for example, people rollerblading, skating, more, you know, going to the gym, etc. There is more awareness when it comes, for example, to modes of transport. Lots of people are now choosing to take scooters or bicycles instead of the bus or a car.
Yes, I think this is
a movement
to change our daily routine, our health routine. If you are driving your own car from your home to your work, and from your work to your home, you're not healthy enough. You can ride a bicycle, you can go on foot, you can use a lot of different healthy transportation. You're going to have a much healthier life.
Indeed, right. And just before I take our next break, let me ask you about your final World Youth Forum that you took part in. What were your responsibilities? Were you still with the media committee, or did you branch out?
Yes, of course. I'm now the vice president of the media committee.
All right, very good. So tell me, what was the main role of the media committee on that round, and what made it more different? What was the different topics that were introduced than the first and second and third round?
In the last WIF, I was the vice president of the media committee. That certain time, I was responsible for the committee, the media committee itself. I was the president of the media committee that focuses on launching press releases and translating every single document that is inserted into the media. So every single piece of news that you watch it in the news is written, edited, and translated by us, by our committee. So I was.
And how many languages were you dealing with?
I was the responsible of the English, Arabic, and French.
So there was English, Arabic, and French.
Yes, yes. Those editions, yes. And we have other teams that focuses on maybe Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, of course, and Russian.
So there were all these languages available.
Yes, you need
coverage for all the languages.
Because we have a lot of young people from all over the world, so you need to discuss with them on their languages, of course.
Absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, another short break, and we'll be right back to continue. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still with our guest in the studio, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Wahab Amer, who is our guest on today's edition of Today's Youth. Thank you once again, Mr. Mohammed. And just before the break, we were talking about the World Youth Forum, as well as all the different languages that were available, translating a very, very, very important role that is played in order to give more you know, experience and more coverage to such an important forum.
Version came after 1 year of cancellation due to the COVID-19 crisis. So young people, like, they were eager to participate more on this particular version. So we met a lot of young people from different countries, especially from Africa, from East Asia, from the Latin America, and from different countries. So we needed to have a lot of translators, a lot of editors, a lot of writers who can write and express themselves in different languages, especially to African people, because as you know, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi focuses on the French languages and to indulge and involve the French language into our educational system. So we focused on this on the last WIF, and a lot of African people speak in French. So we had a certain committee that focuses on the French language that is addressed to the African people.
And speaking about Africa, you were telling me earlier, just before we went on air, that you also have a very wide experience with dealing with African countries and working with them. Could you tell me a bit more about this?
Starting with, I'm a member of the African sector in the international relations and conferences in the Accountability Authority here in Egypt. So I'm mainly responsible for organizing committees, seminars, sessions, and conferences, international conferences with the African countries. And dealing with the African people is much different than any other country.
Why do you say that, Mr.
Because we are here in Egypt, we are very, very proud of our African roots.
Yes.
And by the way, the African young
love
people,
Egypt.
they love Egypt
Yes.
much. They love Egypt so much. And by the way, we have a program that in Dutch from the presidential leadership program that's called African Presidential Leadership Program. It focuses on the African young people. And I've met a lot of African young people who want to copy the experience of Egypt, of the young people in Egypt, to their own countries. So when we talk to them, they ask me a lot of questions. How did you do that? How did you manage to change your country that way? So they are eager to copy.
And they're
our
very well
experience.
knowledged as well. They're very well knowledge. They're up to date with
Yes,
political
of course.
developments.
They speak a lot of languages. This is one of the main aspects of their personalities. You need to know English, French, Swahili, and different countries, different languages. And dealing with the African young people, they are eager to know Egypt because they feel like Egypt is one of their main countries, the favorite countries. And
Have you traveled to any African countries yet?
I was about to travel to Cameroon, but it was cancelled, unfortunately. But very soon I will go to Senegal to participate in an international conference right there. And I'm a member of the organizing committee out there, of course. And I'm really eager to know more about the African continent, how they eat, how they talk, how they live, their own traditions, their own cultures, and how they spend their own daily lives.
Indeed, Mr. Mohammed. So, aside from all your work with all the World Youth Forum Presidential Leadership Program and the many committees that you're on, you're also a lecturer and you teach.
Yes,
you
I teach.
Tell me a bit about that experience.
I like teaching because it changes it inspires minds. I started my teaching career like 10 years ago. 10 years, yes, of course, 10 years ago, as I remember. And then now I'm a member of the Cairo University. I teach translation, interpreting, and I teach the same subjects in Suez Canal, in Benin.
So
University.
many different universities around the country.
Yes, a lot of national
How is it to
universities.
deal with the Egyptian youth, the upcoming, generation?
This is the amazing
Do you
part
see a
of-
gap between your generation and the
no,
upcoming
because
ones?
I'm much closer to them. I'm not that old. I'm only 33. They are like 20 or 21. So I'm much closer to them. I understand the problems, their challenges, their ambitions, their dreams. They tell me every single detail of their lives because they need to tell their own
Age group, yeah.
Yes, of course, to a much older person.
So are you optimistic, Mr. Mohammed? Are you optimistic with the
optimistic
upcoming
because-
youth?
Because comparing my generation to this generation, they are, and I'm really frankly speaking about this, they are much developed, they are better learned.
Switched on.
Yes, of course. They are focusing on technology, they know a lot of technology, they know a lot of languages. They are much better than our generation, frankly. Of course.
That makes me feel
course.
uncomfortable because I wonder what my generation looks like compared to yours. Right, and one final question, Mr. Mohammed. Tell me what you hope for the future, your aspirations, what you wish to be doing in the upcoming
By the way, today the announcement of the Minister of Education will announce the results of Thanawi Amma or the secondary school. I tell them, and I tell every single one of them, no matter your score, no matter your mark, the future is out there. You can focus on your career, you can focus on your skills, on your merits, and you are going to be a much better than the one in your mind. I want you to be focusing on how the future works, the needs of the job market, the requirements that you need to fulfill. These are going to be your own summit. If you are going to a summit, college or a faculty, you are the pioneer of your own summit. You are the creator of your own summit. So I wish you success. I wish you achievements, and I wish you good luck. Thanks a lot.
On that very positive note, I'd like to end there. Mr. Muhammad Abdul Wahab Amer, thank you so much, sir, for coming in this afternoon. Wishing you, of course, all the best of luck with all your future endeavors.
It was a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Today's Youth. We do hope you have enjoyed it. You were in the company of myself and Meher. Thank you for watching.